The fight of the night bonuses, obviously the knockout of the night, Kennedy. Sub of the night goes to Chiesa. And the fight of the night goes to, which was very tough decision. There was so many great fights tonight. The fight of the night goes to Hafeal and Masvidal. You're welcome. Thank you. It was tough. There were some good fights tonight. It was tough to pick, but I thought that was the fight of the night for sure. Any questions before any of the other fighters get here? Any of you three media guys here want to ask a question? Of course you do. Here we go, Ariel.
Tim Kennedy told me that he tore his quad rather seriously a week ago. Did you know about this?
I did not. You guys always tell me about all these injuries. I never hear about them until you tell me. Now
knowing that, did you see that in his performance at all?
Well, he was getting picked apart right before the knockout. You could tell that he was having trouble with him. But, you know, this fight happened because he's a tough guy, man. You know, it was a fight with two real tough guys, and he scored a big knockout. You know, a lot of people were talking smack, including myself, about him after his last fight. And like you and I just talked about, this is a business where we are only as good as our last fight, meaning the UFC and the fighters. And, you know, it worked out for Tim Kennedy this time.
And, you know, Tim was, prior to his UFC debut, he was a little critical of pay. And you had a famous quote saying, "Who is Tim Kennedy?" Right. Do you know who he is now?
I do now. I knew who he was after he started yapping off.
Question for Michael. Obviously, you were very emotional after your last fight in your hometown and it was a loss. Did you feel any extra pressure going into this fight? Because, you know, some people were starting to count you out a little bit. He was coming off a loss as well.
No pressure at all. It's always nice to, you know, go away from home and just come here with my team and come take care of my job instead of, you know, accommodating all the friends and family. Sometimes it's just easier to go on the road and fight instead of fighting at home. The pressure is ridiculous. When people say home field advantage, I don't really believe in that in fighting. I feel like it's a disadvantage, but, you know, it's part of the game. I'm just glad I came here and won, and anybody that said I was irrelevant, well, you're sadly mistaken, because I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. You know, I feel like I won not just the Ultimate Fighter, but that's Murder's Row. I mean, if you look at how many guys are still in the UFC from that season, that speaks for itself. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. If anybody wants to count me out, then they can make that mistake.
I have a question. Who was counting him out? He was undefeated. What idiot was counting him out? Yeah, he had one loss. He's 9-1. People are counting him out?
The question wasn't so much that you were counting him out, but you know, they were criticized.
That was a weird question.
No,
it was weird. Who's next? Who doesn't have weird questions? Go ahead.
Dana, how long has the concept of doing a troop show been? You guys purchased the company shortly before 9/11. Is this something that you thought maybe, you know, at some point years ago down the line that, you know, we could do something like this and give back, or has it just been the last few years?
The fight, no, we got introduced to the fight for the troops through Mr. Fisher. And, you know, as we got introduced, well, first of all, a lot of people in this country, including me, don't understand that we don't take care of our troops when they come home wounded. You know, we take care of the police, we take care of the firemen. You know, how do you not take care of the troops? That makes no sense. But it's true, and it's a fact. And since the government doesn't do it, somebody's got to do it. So we started to, we went down to the Fisher House down in Texas. I've been to Walter Reed. And you know, as you start to visit some of these guys and you realize what a messed up situation this is, and what we've been able to do with the Fisher family and these places and these facilities that we've been able to build for them, you know, it's when you look at all the different charities out there, this one makes a lot of sense for us. Plus, like you saw tonight in that arena, the United States Armed Forces love the UFC and they love mixed martial arts, so it's a perfect fit.
What did you think about the finish in the Green Krause fight? Did you think that third shot was that a clean shot? Did you think it was a low blow?
I thought it was a clean shot. I thought that you know, the first two were definitely low. That other one was right on the border, and you know, I heard Joe saying the foot hit the cup. It hit the top of the cup. You know, who knows? I mean, I thought it was on the border. I didn't think that. I didn't think that shot was worthy of. I think that was more body that hurt him than the actual cup. But I didn't get kicked either.
Question for Rustam Khabilov. Rustam, you had a lot of hype coming into this event. It seemed like Jorge was able to throw you off your game a little bit early, but can you talk to us about that kick in the third round, where that came from, and obviously his toughness to fight through that?
Before this fight, before 3 days, this guy talked about me, bad speak, and I focus this fight, and I tell all my friends I win. Maybe I know when I die, and I try everything. For my coach tell me for last round, spinning back kick, and I try this, is work.
And question for Alexis Davis, since she's up there now. Obviously, Alexis, this was a huge win for you over a very, very tough opponent. Can you kind of talk to us a little bit about the game plan? Because everyone knows you're a ground fighter, but it seemed like you were very resolute in standing up with her.
Yeah, you know, when I noticed in our last fight, she kind of came out southpaw, so we were kind of prepared for it already, and we knew, you know, it's, you know, not really usually her fighting stance. She's trying to play with it a little bit, so that was going to be what we were set and determined we were going to do, go for that inside leg, come across, you know, for the right hand, and it was just, I felt like I had the range, I knew I had the reach advantage for the stand-up.
You're now 2-0 in the division, and we're not sure what's going on with the title picture. So is this, do you feel like, you know, either you need to be a #1 contender or maybe face a person like Kat Zingano when she comes back, or where do you feel like you fit right now?
That's where I would love to be right now. You know, I'll take any opportunity I get. This is where I want to be. Obviously, you know, we're all here. We all want the title shot. You know, is that my next step? You know, do I have to go to Kat Zingano first? We all know, you know, she's set in line for it, but whatever comes at me, I'm ready.
And a question for Dana, kind of to that point. I know you don't match make on the night of the fights, but what did you think of Alexis, and where does she stand? Because of Kat, we're not sure where she's going to come back or how she's going to come back from that knee.
I have a lot of respect for Liz Carmouche, and I think she's a great fighter, and she absolutely picked her apart tonight. You know, Liz, she shut her down. She made her tentative. She made Liz obviously feel uncomfortable, like she couldn't throw any punches or do anything. And I thought she fought a great fight tonight. Obviously, you know, the women's division, you know, with Kat Zingano hurt, and this fight's going to happen between Misha and Ronda. Who knows? I mean, Errol asked me that question earlier. You know, we'll see what happens. The win she had tonight was very impressive and definitely puts her in a good position.
Question for Sapo. The fight was looking good for you, obviously up until the finish. Were you happy with what you were doing up until that point? And was that kind of punch from him, that sort of leaping left hook, was that something that you had prepared for?
I prepared for everything in this fight, you know. I was ready. I just have a few weeks, but I was ready for everything. I waited for 5 rounds, waited for stand-up fight, for fight on the ground. Just have a cut. It's happened, you know. I'm not happy. For me to be happy, I have to win. You know, it's this time. He was better than me today.
What did Dana White say to you up there?
He say he trusts me, you know. He picked me for this fight because he know I'm tough fighter, and he trusts me. He still believes me.
A question for Yoel. Is your translator with you? Oh, he's with you. Oh, okay. You're 36 years old, and you've obviously been through a lot, and you had a surgery. Do you want to expedite your career? You know, sometimes when guys come in, they bring them along slowly, but given your age, do you want to move things on a little quicker than most?
Tú tienes 36 años, tú entraste en esta carrera un poquito más tarde de que otros. ¿Tú quieres que tu carrera se mueve más rápida y entonces tengas oponentes más duros antes?
Bueno, creo que todo va dependiendo de cómo uno lleve la vida. Y yo llevo una vida muy disciplinada, llevo una vida muy profesional y creo que la edad no me impide el poder dar lo que se espera de mí, tanto como los entrenadores, como mi familia. Confío en Dios de que la edad no será un impedimento para yo poder dar lo mejor de mí.
Primarily, I don't believe my age is an issue. I live a very disciplined life. I eat well and I keep a very schedule. And so I don't think I would need to be expedited just because of the very fact that I know I'm going to be good for as long as I need to be based on the discipline routine I take.
Then just one more. Do you consider yourself the best wrestler in mixed martial arts right now?
¿Tú te consideras el mejor luchador en mixed martial arts?
Sería muy jactancioso de mi parte decir eso, pero eso lo debe decir el pueblo, ¿no? Y el público.
It would be very high and ego for me to say something like that. That's something for you guys to decide.
For Alexis, how's your eye and how much trouble did that give you during the fight?
It really didn't give me too much trouble at first, you know. I think it kind of gave me a little bit of extra push, but this one's been kind of cut open before, so usually blood doesn't bother me, so it feels fine right now. Actually, I didn't really even know what I looked like until I just looked in the mirror before I came out there. I'm like, I guess they're not doing my makeup before we go to the press conference.
Were you worried at all that they may stop it, or were you just kind of clueless to like you said, how bad it was?
You know, and I was just so focused at the fight, you know, at the time that I wasn't too worried about it. I knew I could see fine, so I didn't think they were going to stop it.
And for Michael, obviously, you overcame some early trouble and I think won over the crowd. Did you ever feel like you were in real danger, or how close did he have you?
Not really. I mean, I know Colton's a good grappler, but that's also my specialty, so I didn't really feel like I was in that much trouble. I knew I just proper technique and somersault my way out of it, but no, I didn't feel like I was in trouble at all.
This is for Michael. Your last fight, you had a setback in front of your home crowd, and obviously you reacted very emotionally to it. How did it kind of feel, conversely, getting the win over someone who was kind of in front of their home crowd?
It's almost like being on the opposite side of things. Like I was saying earlier, people don't realize the pressure that you have when you fight at home. I mean, it's not just accommodating everybody, but you know, it's just a lot of pressure you put on yourself. Anybody in the sports business always wants to perform best when they're fighting at home in front of their friends and family. So it felt nice to be on the other side of it, not have to deal with that and get the win. But yeah, you know, and the other thing about the Masvidal fight, it's not just losing in front of your home crowd, it's losing with 1 second left in a round. I'm a fierce competitor, and I know it wasn't very sportsmanlike of me to run out of the cage like a girl, but when you lose by 1 second, when you're having that good of a fight against a guy that potentially is in the top 15, I think you'd be mad at yourself too.
This question is for Yoel. You decided tonight to stand with your opponent. Obviously, you made the right decision. But on the other hand, what made you forego your wrestling tonight? What was it about your opponent that made you decide that standing with him was the correct decision?
Tú decidiste hoy usar el boxeo, pero no luchar con él. ¿Por qué decidiste eso?
Porque se sabe de antemano que yo soy un luchador. Y entonces queríamos preocuparlo, hacerle sentir que venía a luchar, pero en realidad lo que le íbamos a dar era con las manos.
Because of course everyone understands that I'm a wrestler, so we prefer to have him think we're going to wrestle him and then strike.
Yes, this can go to Mike, Hafeal, and Alexis. Yes, I was wondering, after facing so many opponents in your career, do you feel that fighters with military backgrounds handle themselves in a more different way than fighters without military background? And if so, in what ways do they feel different?
Like fighting Liz, I knew watching a lot of her fight videos, and I'm a huge fan of hers. That she's almost very composed when she fights. You never see her gas out. You never see her get tired, and I think she's just the way she's able to handle herself and to constantly push the pace. I think that's has a lot to do with her background, that she's kind of that set in the determination that she has.
Yeah, man, for sure this makes him strong, He have a great cardio, one of the best in MMA. He's a strong guy. He's very resistant, He never give up. He always go forward. And for sure this makes him strong. I can say that helping a lot. His condition, his power, for sure everything is happening with that.
The one thing you can expect when you're fighting somebody that's in the armed services is somebody that's very mentally tough and disciplined. You're going to fight somebody that's not cutting corners in their training, that's always working hard, and they're never going to mentally falter in a fight. Getting in a cage and fighting another person is just fun to them, as compared to what they do for work when they go overseas and fight for our freedoms. So you just have to be prepared for war if you're going to fight somebody that is in the armed services.
Question for Tim. Hey, Tim. We could tell a little bit what you were saying to the crowd when you jumped on the cage, but can you elaborate a little bit? It sounded like you were saying, "I love you," but what else were you saying to them?
There was a lot of "I loved yous," and "I'm sorry that I left you," and "I'm embarrassed to be in here," and "I'm humbled to be in here," and "Please forgive me for leaving you," and just a lot of that kind of sentiment. I wanted to get out of the cage and run up in the crowd and never come back.
So you say like you're apologizing and asking for forgiveness. Is that something that, since you left active duty, has been bothering you a lot? Like, do you feel guilty about that?
Every day. Every day. My wife and I, we don't argue, but probably the only thing that we ever have points of contentions about is me putting back on a uniform. So I'm always like, if a war kicked off, she'd probably just give in. But right now, she's on the upper hand. She's like, "What are you going to do? You're going to go back and teach at the sniper schoolhouse or teach at, the CQB schoolhouse?" And I was like, yeah. I miss it every day.
Do you think you will ever go back?
If a war kicks off, absolutely, for sure, positively. Or if you could talk to my wife, you're good at talking. You could talk to my wife about it.
Okay.
Help me out.
Sure.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And just curious, did this help maybe temper some of those feelings of guilt, because you were able to sort of entertain the troops and give back for one night only? Did that help battle those emotions?
Man, this is a drop in the bucket to what needs to be done, so, both for me and I think for that community. So maybe a little bit, but no, I have so much more to do, I'm just getting started.
One last thing. Obviously, you've been talked about as an opponent for some big names as of late. Is there anyone in particular you feel like the UFC should match you up against next?
Yeah, but I don't want to fight anybody up here, that's for sure. Everybody's too tough. Maybe her at the end. No, not off the top of my head. No, I don't have any. I'm not gonna call anybody out right now. I'm gonna wait till I get back to Twitter and Facebook, and then I'm gonna fire relentlessly. Yeah.
Question for Tim. Tim, I kind of related this to a title fight for you tonight. Did it kind of have that atmosphere for you, fighting in front of the troops? 4,300 people cheering your name, things like that. I mean, did it feel like a title fight in there?
It truly did. We just did with my coaches, Greg and Winklejohn and Brandon. We went over kind of like an AAR, what I did well and what I didn't do well in the cage. And one of my criticisms of myself was I had to wait for the crowd to stop cheering, because I was afraid to be emotionally commit to something and not do it for the right reasons. Like they're screaming, Ranger up, and I wanted to start throwing overhands and blitz the guy. And I was like waiting for them to stop, and then they didn't stop. And they started cheering USA, and they started cheering Kennedy. I'm like, for the love of God, just, so it had, a negative effect on me because I was waiting. I was apprehensive. There was a lot of reservations. If there was any amount of pressure that could be put on a single fighter for a fight, can't think of a situation that would be more stressful than this. Being like the biggest face of the military in the UFC, fighting on the first Fight for the Troops card in I don't know how many years, and then be a main event against a freaking superstar on a win streak that's a Renzo Gracie black belt. That that's stressed out.
Now that it's over, though, what was it like? I mean, the moment everyone in the media knew when they started chanting "Ranger up," what that was about, chanting for you. I mean, now that it's over, how cool was that? Because I know a lot of fighters say they don't want to hear the crowd, or they try to shut the crowd out. But I mean, now that you heard it, how was that now?
Man, when I Nick Palmisciano, the owner of Ranger Up, he was in my corner with me. He's been with me ever since the beginning. I have 10 years. I hop over the cage. The dude's crying. Well, this is a dude from West Point that, he's like a big Ranger, tough guy. And 100% overwhelmed with emotion, not because of them cheering Ranger up, just he was as emotionally connected to this event as I was. He had the same stress as I did. He had to put up with me being skinny and a little bitch the whole entire time. So it was way overwhelming. And now, when I'm walking through the auditorium, like a guy would walk up, be like, "You're my hero," and I just want to start crying every time. I was like, "Motherfuckers, stop doing that! You're getting me. Stop." So, yeah, it's very overwhelming and definitely an opportunity to learn from. So when I do have a title fight, I know what I'm gonna expect.
And one question for Hafeal. After the fight, you were obviously visibly upset, but it seemed like the troops were still supporting you, patting you on the back. No one booed you tonight. I mean, is there something you can take away as still a special night for you? Because you did seem to have the support. They never booed you once, and I saw a lot of them were patting you on the back and kind of supporting you on the way out of the cage.
Yeah, man, for sure it was a special night for me, fighting the main event, fight with a tough guy like that, and fight for the troop. That's the big honor for me. And that shows how these people respect, I think that everybody gonna boo me, nobody booing, everybody support. And that's the people have to learn with these guys, They represent one country, they fight for the country, and they are very, very special people, It was a good night, It was a good experience. I hope I can have a new experience again, but it was a great fight for these guys, It's a good blessing for me. Thank God for this opportunity.
Tim, your game has always been, your wrestling, your submissions, your just being, relentless and just constant pressure. Where did the one-punch knockout come from? Is that something you've tried to focus on, or was just the perfect night and the perfect circumstances?
Winklejohn, Greg Jackson, and Brandon Gibson. I mean, I'm not lying. I threw that punch. Coach, how many times in the past 6 weeks? Natal, when he circles off, he circles off often. He's when you start pressing forward, he's good at getting off on an angle. So we had a whole bunch of, primary, secondary, and tertiary plans for how to kind of ambush him along those lines, and that was one that they just were relentless with. So, yeah, there you go.
As the fights were going on through the night, obviously you're getting prepared for your fight, but you were invested in Colton's fight. And did in the back of your head, were you aware that the fighters with military backgrounds were 0-3 heading into your fight? Was that anything just in the back of your mind that would really like to come through and send everyone home? Obviously everyone having a great time, but even happier with a big finish.
So I tore my quad coming into this camp. The very last week of fight camp, just stupid thing happened. Lady walked out on the track, and it was either run over a 65-year-old lady, probably kill her, or try to decelerate in about 2 meters. I chose to decelerate and just fell to the ground, grabbing my leg, screaming, holy, not great words. So if they had to roll me into the cage to fight Natal, I would have fought him. In the cage, once they lifted me up and hoisted me into the cage, Natal would have had to shoot me and bludgeon me to death until I quit. I was irrelevant to the entire card. I was 100% focused on fighting Hafeal and making sure I went out there and won. I'm too dumb to care.
Just to elaborate on that, initially when you injured your quad, what went through your mind? Did you think for a second, oh my God, I might not make this card?
I told my coaches about it. I'm not going to hide it. And we did everything that we could, like crazy wacko stuff, from this weird Chinese suction cup thing that they set fire to this and dragged it over to my muscles, which is really painful, to deep tissue stuff, to KT tape, to man, it was just like Bengay. You walk in my hotel room, it stinks. All the way up to last night, every night, trying to get some form of deep tissue relief. No, I didn't lie to you when we did our little interview in there. You would have had to kill me to prevent me from getting in that cage tonight. I swear to God. I would be dead, or I'd be in that cage fighting.
How much pain are you in right now?
I was in the car, and Nick, right there, he's like, "Great job, buddy," and grabbed me, and I was like, and I fell over, and our driver just starts laughing. She's like, you can't touch my leg right now. Mm. Well, you could, but then I'd try to bite your throat out.
Did that add to your stress tonight?
That was on the forefront of my mind. If you watch the fight and all my previous fights, I never leg check. I take a kick to land a punch. And when I was picking my legs up and he hit my back leg and dropped me with that leg kick, that was me trying to protect my leg. If you watch my back foot when I was cheating forward to try to cover space, it's because I can't use my left leg. All that was trying to compensate for me being too stupid to not go in a cage.
A question for Liz. I know it's somewhat fresh, but in your opinion, what went wrong tonight?
Alexis is a great opponent. I knew that going into it that she was going to be tough. It was just implementing the game plan a little bit more. The first round went perfect. And it was just in the second and third round where I just made a little bit of mistakes that I just needed to push forward a little bit more and just keep on doing that.
Obviously, we know about her ground game, and you're very strong on the ground as well, but was the game plan to stand with her?
The game plan was to go anywhere she wanted to. If it was standing, we'd keep it standing. If there was an opportunity to go for a takedown, definitely go for the takedown.
How did you feel in there with the troops, given your background? Did this feel like a different fight? Were you more nervous going into this fight?
No, the atmosphere is, for me, it's always the same. I'm tunnel vision, just stuck in the cage. I could definitely hear them and hear the positive feedback, and it was encouraging. But no matter what, it doesn't matter where it goes, the nervousness isn't going to change one way or the other.
And then one for Rustam. Obviously, you're climbing the ranks. A lot of people are very excited about you. There's another Russian who is climbing the ranks, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Would you ever fight him if the UFC matched you guys up?
This guy, like my brother, I'm 7 years together training with him. His dad from my coach first, and I think we know fight.
Is there anyone in particular you'd like to fight next, a high-ranked guy?
He does not want to call anybody out. Whoever's going to get matched against, that's who's going to take him.
And then one for Matt. Are you going to be doing a scrum after this?
You would want one, but no, unfortunately not.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize.
This question's for Liz. Liz, since you were in Fort Campbell a couple months ago with Fox Sports 1, first of all, how does it feel being back in such a great military establishment? And how does it feel that troops that you have a chance to meet and conversate with, how does it feel that they recognize you and they show your support in such a great way?
Both in being in this wonderful establishment. You know, it feels like home. I'm right next to, I'm working in a hangar, and that's essentially what I spent 5 years doing in my career. I'm right next to the airfield. That's what I spent my entire time in the Marine Corps doing. So it definitely feels like a second home being here. It doesn't matter what branch. There's a camaraderie that comes just being in the forces in general. And then to be able to talk with everybody and just see the impact that we've all had just by being here has just been amazing.
Questions for Alexis. Alexis, actually, when was the last time you ran from the cage?
Yeah, Mike over there. I don't think I've seen ever a female run from a cage.
I was just checking. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
This question's for Tim. Tim, you were originally supposed to fight Lyoto Machida originally on this card, and since after his dominating victory over Mark Munoz, and now after your dominant victory, how do you by chance see that fight maybe in the future since it was an original lineup? And if not, where do you see yourself in the division, like right as of right now after the dominating victory?
You know, I'm only 2 fights into the UFC. You know, I'm not going to call out guys that are in, you know, the top contendership spots. Additionally, he's scheduled to fight Mousasi, another guy I would love to fight. So I think I'm middle of the pack, honestly. There's a whole bunch of guys that are on bigger, more substantial, more meaningful win streaks right now than I am. So you know, guys like maybe Carmouche, you know, he has 5 wins. I don't know where I stand right now. I want to fight the best guys.
Maybe a rematch with Luke Rockhold anytime in the future?
No, I want to move forward. You know, like I think all the Strikeforce guys did real well tonight, and you know, like, I love to fight Jacare. I love to fight Luke. Those were both very close, competitive fights. But more importantly, I want to fight more UFC guys. We're kind of running through them, and I want to keep doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. This was a great event, and we really appreciate all the support and time you took with us, and we hope to come back again soon. Thank you.